insurance companies don't necessarily pay for the ivermectin prescription when it comes in, or that in some cases, as I understand it, the pharmacy can substitute the ivermectin for another medicine and has the authorization to do that. Can you talk a little bit about that? It seems pretty astounding that what a doctor orders for a patient, an intervening entity can just swap out for you. How does that work exactly?
Well, I can talk a lot about this. I'll try to keep it as brief as I can because you're right, it is quite alarming. Remember the pharmacist's role, as I see it, safe delivery of medication to the patient as the practitioner intended, not to challenge or deny therapy unless there is a clinical reason and the practitioner is addressed by the pharmacist. But some of the trickery that's happening right now is the fact that ivermectin, when billed to an insurance plan, my pharmacy doesn't bill insurance. But if I did have an insurance plan, I take that prescription, I transmit the claim, the insurance company may say, oh, this drug needs prior authorization. You need to go verify with the doctor the reason why he prescribed it. We're going to put an ICD-10 code, and that ICD-10 code is going to have to be the river blindness disease or some type of parasitic infection. It is not going to be COVID. That will be denied. And when it comes to independent pharmacies that would take insurance but then dispense it anyway, there is some risk of the PBMs, the pharmacy benefit managers, to say, well, you saw one of our patients and dispense a drug. We do cover ivermectin, but you dispense this cash. We're going to penalize you. We're going to take money from you. And we've talked before in other conversations how the chain drugstores own the top PBMs. That's part of the trickery. But the last thing is the most alarming. In certain states, pharmacists are permitted to actually prescribe a drug like Paxlovid, not proven to have good efficacy against COVID. And that's alarming to me because you're totally bypassing the diagnostician. That's not the pharmacist's role. I like being a pharmacist, but I'm not the physician, the PA, or the nurse practitioner. Okay, a clinical assessment is valuable. So I guess the emergency call is, well, we want patients to get access to Paxlovid. It's safe and effective. Now, I don't know about that, but the pharmacist's role in completely bypassing a practitioner, or this is the worst thing in my last point. A patient brings a prescription for, say, ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine to one of these pharmacies that permits the pharmacist prescribing. So the corporate policy could be, well, I'm going to deny this ivermectin, changing what the practitioner intended. And I'm going to give you Paxlovid because that's what the appropriate thing is. And if it's in a state where the pharmacist is not permitted to do that, many Walgreens and CVS have their own mini clinics. Why don't you go see the nurse practitioner PA? I can't give you ivermectin. I can't give you hydroxychloroquine, but you go see one of them. You'll get a legitimate prescription. This is creating such a terrible misconception of these two drugs, ivermectin in particular, for the public, when you and I have talked before, there are 95 studies that show ivermectin's positive activity against various viral diseases, so more than just parasitic diseases, including COVID-19. So that whole phenomenon of switching the prescription is just astounding to me, and I don't think it's good at all.
So if I'm prescribed ivermectin and go to a pharmacist who refuses to fill it, they're denying me a therapy. I mean, is that a violation of the Hippocratic Oath?
I think it is a violation of the Hippocratic Oath. More importantly, and I would have to study this state by state, is did the pharmacist violate, their role, their oath of their profession, or what their profession requires? Because denying a prescription, okay, that is an intervention. It is a treatment intervention. So to prescribe treatment, to change a treatment, or to deny treatment is a treatment intervention. So one, I do think it's a violation of Hippocratic Oath because, again, safe delivery of medication to the patient. Number two, could it potentially violate state law? My question is that the practice of medicine by pharmacists? And Chris, I think we are going to see lawsuits to that effect eventually emerge, particularly when it comes to the chain drugstores, just on that issue, the practice of medicine by denying prescribed therapy.
So really, if someone's sick, what they need to do is get better. So if a pharmacy refuses to fulfill their prescription, they should go to Partel Pharmacy, look you guys up online or in person. Outside of that, though, thinking about how can they fight back against this sort of this medical tyranny? Is it possible that they should look at their state ethics boards, legal boards? Where might they go and start lodging complaints against these pharmacists? How might they do that? And I understand that the laws are vary from state to state, but generally speaking, for someone watching this, what might they do to fight back if they're going to be mistreated by a pharmacist?
mistreated by a pharmacist, the first place to lobby the complaint is actually with the board of pharmacy. And denying a prescribed therapy is one of those complaints that's primary. And even in my state, Nevada, where the board of pharmacy did get involved and was subsequently sued, the board of pharmacy should protect what pharmacists' role is to ensure the safe delivery of medication to the patient. So that'd be the first place. The next place I would look is to pick up any civil rights group. It's a civil rights issue in any state or even from a national perspective for therapy to be denied. And we can talk about what some of those reasons might be, but for therapy to be denied, I think is a catastrophe that should be addressed. So civil rights and direct to that particular state board of pharmacy complaint.
Great. And one more time, the complaint is exactly that you're being denied a therapy and therefore the pharmacist is practicing medicine. Is that the core complaint that you're making to a state pharmacy board?
That is the core complaint. The practitioner, the patient made an appointment, paid for that appointment. The practitioner made a clinical assessment, prescribed a medication that practitioner thought was best. The pharmacist made a judgment to deny therapy. So the pharmacist's defense is only going to be a good defense if it's, well, I denied therapy because there was this serious drug interaction, which the doctor may have changed the prescription, or I denied therapy because the patient had an absolute contraindication. Those are the only defenses the pharmacy is going to have, but it's really corporate policy that has driven those denials at the chain drugstores.
Absolutely. And of course, we let people to come check out the Wellness Company. As one of our partners, you fill a lot of our prescriptions, and our doctors believe in science, medical science, not political science. And you can be assured that if you need ivermectin or something else, you will be prescribed it, and that that Partel, our partner, will fill it. And look forward to working together for years. Why is it important for someone to have a local pharmacy? And what can you do that big chains won't?
Well, what I will do is I will not deny therapy. I will compound. I will talk to and actually counsel the patients rather than just function as a dispensing machine, which is what the chain drugstores have become. And a lot of that is economically driven because the insurance paradigm, the prescription insurance paradigm, is now owned by the chain drugstore. So I wrote an article, Chris, and you can have the crowd look at the Wellness Company article that I wrote, because it comes down to this. What type of world does the public want to live in when they move forward? Supporting independent pharmacies by patronizing them as often as possible, with knowing that we are not always going to be able to match price of chain drugstores, is something important if the public realizes that that's what they need to keep alive, that entire profession. Otherwise, I'm afraid what we might devolve into is the fact that corporate policy of the chain drugstores and the PBMs they own will dictate what therapies are and are not available, and that is going to be a public health tragedy. So independent pharmacies like mine, the community pharmacies, important to patronize to keep access to those options.
Great. So doesn't actually have to hit this number, but roughly, tell me 5 things that you think people should know about local pharmacies and the advantages of using them.
Well, many local pharmacies do compound. Compounding has a number of options, and prescribers, the practitioners that are accustomed to using compounding, I think are becoming very important because my patients, my local ones, often ask me, I need to see a practitioner that's more integrated, that's going to talk to me about nutrition, maybe hormone therapy, and some other things. Well, those practitioners I'm familiar with because they use my pharmacy. So I very commonly make those referrals. So the pharmacy, the independent pharmacy offers free consultations, right? All you have to do is pick up the phone or open the door and you can ask us questions. So that's one reason that it's important. Number 2, to keep access to compounded medication is crucial. So not only patronize the independent pharmacy, but the compounding pharmacy, because it's no joke that we have, or it's totally true that we have taken a lot of the market share away from pharmaceuticals with just say hormone replacement therapy. So to keep that available requires the independent pharmacy, because I can look at overall drug utilization go down for a toxic drug just by replenishing someone's deficient hormones. And another thing that's important is you often find at the independent or your local pharmacies unique nutritional supplement options that are very important. Supplements have their place. You don't necessarily get always the best quality or the most potent supplements at the major big box stores. Okay, the Wellness Company has some great lines, including the Signature line. These are things that are not going to be carried at chain drugstores, where independent pharmacies like mine will have those products and other specialized products where, again, You can go and talk to a pharmacist that's familiar with using them. And what I tell the public is if you think all of this resource is valuable for keeping, then all we ask you for politely is your patronage and support. So I don't know if I give you 5 reasons, but those are the top reasons in my mind.
Great. So in the other direction, what are 5 things that you wish people knew about big chain pharmacies and the pharmaceutical industry they should be aware of?
The number one thing that will kind of break into 3 or 4 subcategories is just the finances. And it boils down to the fact that, yes, it's true that your chain drugstores make money from their prescription dispensing, although it's not hugely profitable, which is why your chain drugstores bought your major PBMs. CVS owns Caremark, that's the company name, it's in your face. Walgreens is associated with OptumRx, ESI, now United Healthcare, and Walmart owns Humana. So those 4 entities control nearly 80% of all prescription drug claims. So there's a lot of dominance, guidance, and limitation that can be done. Okay, so that's one thing people need to be aware of. The second thing that I think outrages a number of my customers is, and I'll give you one more after that, is the fact that reimbursements for one particular drug are very different at a chain drugstore than my pharmacy. I often give an example. I get a prescription for a drug called meloxicam. It's an anti-inflammatory. I pay $16 for the drug. I get reimbursed $12. It's negative reimbursement. See why I don't take insurance? A chain drugstore like CVS, well, they own Caremark, but they pay $12 for the drug. Yes, their buying volume is better than mine, better discount, but they get reimbursed $90. So who is that cost ultimately passed on to? It's passed on to the employer and the employee ultimately paying for that prescription benefit plan. So that incestuous relationship is something that the public needs to learn a little bit more about. And the final thing is rebates, because the rebate game in terms of expensive drugs, so any drug you see on a commercial, okay, a visible video commercial, a very expensive drug, and there's a particular class of drugs for diabetes right now that cost about $1,000 a month. And when control is given over which of those drugs in that particular category are dispensed, according to that PBM chain drugstores own, there are hundreds of millions paid out in rebates that go back to the PBM. They come from the pharmaceutical company. Those are large inducements that the public may not be aware of to advocate and lobby for the type of dispensing that drives up the overall prescription cost, which ultimately someone pays. Either an employer or a patient pays that cost because of that monthly premium that's needed to support the overall drug plan. So the economic relationship and those 3 key things are what I think the public needs to be more aware of.
Absolutely. Well, Robert Sake at Partel Pharmacy, maybe tell people where they can find you online.
PartelPharmacy.com, 1 T, 2 L's. We're located in Las Vegas, Nevada, licensed in 48 states. Yes, we work with the wellness company. Very happy to do that. We do not deny dispensing unless there's a clinically significant reason. We do compounding. We carry a number of fine lines of supplements too, including the wellness company's products and their signature line.
Outstanding. Well, we'll include a link in the description. Thanks for being here today.
All right. Thank you, Chris.